if I can be clearly heard in the back as well. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Very good, thank you. Good afternoon or good evening, everybody. My name is Fredrik Folin. I'm sort of heading the GlobalEye segment within HX. So, GlobalEye. As Magnus briefly mentioned, it is an asset that is complementing the Gripen system in a truly unique way. It provides vital intelligence for the entire Finnish Defence Forces structure in all domains. It increases the coverage dramatically if you compare to having just only ground-based sensors, ground-based radars. And by so, it will provide you with the extensive pre-warning time. Pre-warning time that can be translated into lots of minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. We'll come back to that later. It also offloads the HX fighter fleet quite substantially, meaning that in times of crisis, where you may want to fly around with your fighter system in order to keep track of what's going on, then you will have a wear and tear factor on your fighters, regardless of which fighter you're flying. Having just one GlobalEye in the air, maybe two, would mean that you can keep your assets safe on ground, ready to perform if so needed. And when the conflict arises, then you will have the maximum capability ready for your benefit. And this is also important for the Navy as well as for the Army. So there you have the joint effect again. Additionally, it's equally important to have the ability to stay up in the air for long periods of time. The Saab selection of the Bombardier Global 6000 family has led to the fact that we will now offer at least 11 hours airborne time on a mission. Many times, much more than so. Magnus mentioned that we've been building aircrafts for 80 years. You may also know that we've been building radar systems for over 60 years. And the radar family is now represented in all domains as well. We have it in GlobalEye, of course. We have it in the Giraffe radars on land. And we also have it in, for instance, in the Squadron 2020 program. So the competence gained throughout those 60 years is now represented in all domains in our entire product family. Apart from that, we have also been in the airborne early warning and control business for the past 25 years. And by so, we have the broadest customer base, user base in the world. 8 countries with over more than 25 systems delivered in total is unprecedented. And the experience in various platforms goes from the Saab 340 family, which is the platform actually used today by Sweden when it comes to airborne early warning and control. We have done it on the Saab 2000 platform, we've done it on the Embraer platform, and now we have selected the Global 6000 family for it. And it is quite a big task to take a civil airliner like the Saab 340, the Saab 2000, the Embraer, or the GlobalEye, the Bombardier aircraft, and convert it into an airborne early warning and control system. That is a skill set that is quite unique that Saab has within its system. Just to give you a highlight of what it actually means that the Earth is round. Some may say the contrary, but we think that the Earth is round as well. So if you have a ground-based radar, you put it on a mast, let's say 100 meters tall. The line of horizon from that 100 meters will be about 40 kilometers out. That means that if something is coming on a very, very low altitude, maybe even on the surface, you will have a very short time to react, maybe too little time to react. Illustrated by, in this case, a couple of fighters coming in at different altitudes. So what we're doing is that we take this elevated sensor, we put it high up in the sky, well above 35,000 feet, that is about 11,000 meters. And by so, we are able to look not only down on surface and sea, but also through the entire sky. That will give us an extension of the low-level coverage over at least 10 times. And as I said, if you translate that into pre-warning time, we can add maybe 20, maybe 30 minutes, depending on how fast the object is flying, to give you time to react. And take that into your operational context. You may have different backgrounds and skill sets from the defense forces. What would it mean to have 20-30 minutes extra pre-warning time from what you were used to? I took the liberty here to place one GlobalEye in the mid part of Finland, just to illustrate the coverage range that we have to offer. The outer blue line, the ring rather, represents the instrumented range of the system. And now we should remember that it's not only about radar. The radar is there to allow you to detect anything that has a radar cross section. A fighter, a helicopter, a jet ski, maybe even a periscope sometimes. And the onboard electronic warfare system will pick up anything that is emitting a signal within the frequency range of choice, of course. So this means that it will be nearly impossible to fly around or move undetected when GlobalEye is in the air. The inner green ring represents the line of sight. Even though we're flying quite high, the Earth is still round even if you have a GlobalEye in the sky. And that is 450 kilometers from this altitude represented. So instrumented range 550 kilometers and line of sight 450 in this case. If we look inside the aircraft, it is a civilian aircraft at start. What we've done is that we've taken it to Sweden, we take it pretty much all apart and we rebuild it with the sensors and equipment that needs to be installed. So in the aft section of the aircraft you will find all the hardware that is needed in order to power and supply the sensor systems on board. The mid section is the mission operator area. In our case we have selected a suite of 5 mission operators sitting side by side. Each operator can work independently with one specific task, or he or she can co-share a specific task with one of the other operators on board the aircraft. So it's extremely flexible from a command and control point of view. In front of that section we have a commander or rest area. Imagine if you're flying around for 11-12 hours or so, you may want to have time to maybe have something to eat, go to the restroom, just to sit down and refocus in order to go back and perform again. So there is a possibility for the relief crew on board as well. In the front, we naturally, as traditionally, have 2 pilots, and they will enjoy the benefit of flying the most advanced avionics system available today on the market. The outer furnishing of the aircraft, of course, I'm not sure if you can see it all in the back. We have on the back of the aircraft, we have the AREI extended range radar. That is the primary radar sensor on board this aircraft. We also have furnished it with the electronic warfare, electronic support measures, which is placed on various parts of this aircraft. In the back, we have a self-protecting system, allowing you to increase the likeliness of still being safe if you are being sort of targeted upon. Naturally, we have the within the command and control suite, we have the communications nodes that is requested in order to be able to communicate to the outside world. Communicate to the Gripens tactically, communicate to the C4I chain as well. Dispersed operations is of utmost importance in times of crisis and in times of conflict. It is important that you can move around your asset in order to stay unpredictable for the potential adversary. We need about 2 kilometers of runway to operate this aircraft. And as you can see, there are quite a few airports available today in Finland that will allow you to move around GlobalEye as a strategic asset tactically to stay safe and to be more unpredictable. So, GlobalEye as a strategic asset for Finland. It is a true multi-role airborne early warning and control system for air, land and sea purposes. It provides you with ultra-long-range ISTAR. ISTAR standing for Intelligence, Surveillance, Reconnaissance, and if worst comes to worst, also target acquisition. It is also there to balance a potential adversary's capability. We know for a fact that on the eastern side, They're operating the A50 or soon as well the A100, and it is there for a reason. It is there for the specific and exact reason that we think it should be natural to have that same capability as a nation. It provides you with extended pre-warning time for first strike survivability and also to reduce the wear and tear factor. It detects, identifies and tracks what otherwise cannot be seen or may be seen at a too late stage. Having GlobalEye would also allow you to what we would like to refer to as sort of silent behavior. You may not need always to be flying around emitting with a Gripen fighter. You can stay silent with a Gripen fighter. You can stay silent with your GBAT system. You can stay silent with your Navy. Still knowing that you have a recognized air picture, a recognized maritime picture. You can rely on that, stay silent, be more unpredictable, and by so you will be able to counter any attack that comes your way. And naturally then it will secure the optimal use of all assets throughout the entire defense forces.
The HX challenge is ongoing right now. You may have noticed in media that we were landing in with Gripen yesterday under heavy snowfall and really to a wintry landscape of the Pirkkala Air Base. And we're happy to take part in the evaluations of the HX challenge with Gripen. We're using 2 aircraft from the Gripen family, as well as with GlobalEye. We've landed in already with Gripen Echo 39-10, so the third test aircraft from the serial production line that we've been flying a couple of years. Also we have the Gripen Echo, the 39-7, which is a sensor development aircraft, and that is not coming from the serial production line. We have been using it a number of years in the Gripen Echo Foxtrot program to test out the functionality of the new systems. So it's from the beginning a rebuilt Delta version, and it has all the sensors with infrared search and track, with the new radar system. It has the new engine that the Echo Foxtrot family has, and all the differences when it comes to the structure with much more internal fuel, and that has been a very smart move. We have the avionics functionality in the back seat of that one, and in the front we're using the Gripen Charlie Delta avionics, and that has been a good contributor of speeding up the development and testing phase in an excellent way. So we've set up together with the Finnish Air Force quite a substantial test program. We cannot go into all the details here, but it is all about data substantiation, and that means we are flying a number of test sorties and doing test points where we are showing the capabilities of our radar, of our electronic warfare system, the infrared search and track, etc. So showing that the information we are stating in our response and the documentation to the customer is accurate and correct. And I think it's a very wise way the customer is doing it. We're also testing flight characteristics and basic aircraft functionality, obviously. We are, and we have been up and flying more or less the whole day, and many people have been able to follow it on Flight Radar 24 with GlobalEye. And there is a team from the Finnish Air Force, of course, that are on board in these flights, and to be able to see how the system is working. So we're really happy for this, and in a larger sense, the HX challenge is one part of the evaluations. But we've started the activities already last year, and we're using simulators, network simulations for advanced mission and tactical scenarios, where we have the Finnish Air Force coming to Sweden where we've set up all this and we go through the concepts of operations we have developed and saying that this would be the way we could solve your task. And we will continue with a number of activities also after the HX Challenge during this year, where we will continue to demonstrate functionality. So HX Challenge is not all, but it is perhaps the most symbolic part of the evaluation activities. So I think, sorry, and down to the left you can see a photo from when the aircraft was taxiing here after landing recently at Birka. We have talked about what we are offering in the HX program before the break, and as you may understand, it's quite an extensive set of equipment that needs to be handled by an operator. We talked about not only the aircraft but the support systems and everything that needs to be maintained and connected into the infrastructure. And that is why we are carefully, together with the customer, looking into what would it take to introduce Gripen and GlobalEye in Finland. We have done thorough site surveys, studying the maintenance capabilities of today, the equipment available, what possible changes that would be needed. And we come to a very clear conclusion that introducing Gripen and GlobalEye in Finland is a very smooth task. It is not costly, it does not take too much time, so it is easy to introduce these systems. More or less the existing maintenance facilities can be used with small or minor adaptations, and we see that when it comes to environmental conditions, noise levels, etc., it wouldn't be a burden of starting to operate these aircraft instead of what is being operated today. We can use the road bases existing today, and with the short takeoff and landing capability of Gripen, many more can actually be quickly arranged if needed. Gripen does not need any fixed installations like arresting wires. It's just an 800-meter long highway strip. And it is, or both Gripen and GlobalEye are fully NATO interoperable and connectable and compatible with the command and control infrastructure in Finland, sometimes referred to as the C4I infrastructure, the information technology and networks to handle all the cooperating elements of the wider Finnish Defence Forces. So a smooth and simple operational start. Security of supply is more or less a religion, I usually say, here in Finland, and we're impressed to see the capabilities built up within the Air Force, but also within industry, Patria, Insta, and other actors as well, to make sure that there are capabilities needed for the long-term operation sustainment and also further development of the systems. And we have put a lot of effort into setting up a solution to make sure that these capabilities are there for Gripen and GlobalEye. And there are two drivers for us here. First, to make sure that the capabilities are there for availability of aircraft. The other part is to make sure that we establish capabilities so that we can keep the systems operationally relevant in Finland over the whole life cycle. On the upper part here, we design a support solution that is quite advanced. We're establishing a lot of capabilities. Between 80 to 90% of all the the faults that you are kind of from the simulation getting that that this is probably what will happen with the different subsystems of the aircraft. 80 to 90% of these activities and these faults can be handled within Finland with the capabilities that we are setting up. On the lower part, we're suggesting the establishment of a development or a system center. And that is all the information and data needed, together with integration rigs, together with development software, so that we can use this beauty of how the system is being designed, so that within Finland, the Finnish Defence Forces, in close cooperation with local industry as well as us, can introduce these new tactical functions in a smooth way over the life cycle. And exactly how this could be set up, it's an operator and Finnish Air Force decision. We see obviously a good logic of this type of center here in Tampere, being a city or the aviation capital, I'd say, of Finland, with the industry, the logistics command and the Air Force. And we think that this is an area where we have a lot of things to offer. And one way of creating security of supply is industrial participation. And we have worked since many years back with Patria, Insta and others to define the projects to support security of supply. To build the capabilities needed for high availability of aircraft, we suggest to involve Finnish industries heavily in the production and delivery phases of the program, both using on-the-job training courses that they take part in the activities back in Sweden, but not to forget, an important element is that we're suggesting parts production and also final assembly of both engines and aircraft here in Finland, because that is building the capability that you can use in the maintenance, repair and overhaul. And we have a suggestion where quite a substantial proportion of the aircraft will be built here in this country. And then we are working together with Finnish industry and perform a main part of the maintenance, repair and overhaul work here in Finland already during the phasing in period 2025 to 2030. For the second part, in order to establish the long-term capabilities of further adaptations, we have both the participation of Finnish industry in the specific work we do when it comes to Finnish-related functions and adaptations. And we are working alongside Finnish industry to establish this system center, as well as we are operating it together. And this shall not be understood as a separate organization, but a way of, hopefully at a single location, co-locating activities and resources from the Air Force, the Logistics Command, local industry, and us being the manufacturer for an optimal and efficient use that supports the long-term operation, sustainment and further development. So we have a lot of discussions on exactly how this will be done, but we think this is a strong point. And we discussed over the coffee break that it is important not to package this type of programs in a black box approach. So we are open to transfer quite a great deal of capabilities and deep technological knowledge. And that is needed for the long-term operation. And we think this could be a wise way of doing it. The HX program is a big investment for Finnish taxpayers. It's a big program for the Finnish Defence Forces, and there has been a design to cost approach set for this, meaning that 10 billion euro is the ceiling towards which all the candidates in this race will define a solution for. And there is a small reduction for the internal cost of the Finnish Air Force, and that may be slightly different from candidate to candidate. But all in all, this is the ballpark where each and every candidate is defining a solution. And of course, what we are submitting now in our revised RFQ response, our revised offer, we are respecting this budget, and we are trying to maximize the operational capability with Gripen Echo, Gripen Foxtrot, and the GlobalEye. And not only the acquisition budget is a constraint or something that we need to respect. It is also said that the yearly cost of operation and sustainment for HX must not be more than what it is costing today to operate and sustain the Hornet system, or the 62 Hornets still in operational use. Gripen and GlobalEye are both designed to be cost efficient, and we think that it's hard to beat us on this. And not to forget the last point here, whatever you buy right now, this needs to evolve over time. And the whole design is meant to be upgradable in a smooth way. And that is working for cost efficiency. Instead of paying a lot of money for unnecessary recertification of flight critical software, if you're not really wanting to change that part when introducing a new tactical function, we have the technical design so that that is being avoided. And instead, the money you spend on further development is really resulting in additional functions for military capability. So affordability, that is a strong point for our offering. So this is our last slide tonight before the questions, and this is summarizing a little bit the logic we see why Finland should buy Gripen and GlobalEye. First and foremost, we do think that the systems are made for the situation we have. Gripen is made for the type of threats and the everyday use we see in this region. Gripen is built for road-based operations, harsh climate, conscript mechanics, easy maintenance. GlobalEye is a very strong force multiplier to this. And as we just saw on the previous slide, nobody beats us on cost. And cost efficiency directly translates back to operational capability. Security of supply is an area where we have not only the toolbox, but also the mindset and long experience of building capabilities in the countries to which we deliver these types of systems. And some of you may have been following our program in Brazil, where we have set up a production line, we've set up a development center. That's a very good example on how closely we work to build capabilities. Furthermore, we think that the timing is good. There is a tradition in Finland to procure proven and mature systems. Gripen is a proven and mature system, still with the Echo Foxtrot latest version, offering the latest available technology. There is no more modern fighter out there. GlobalEye is the latest and most powerful airborne early warning control system today in the world. And this is nothing that we started doing yesterday. We have a 25-year experience, and within the radar segment, up to, as Fredrik was showing, 60 years experience. So this balance between proven and mature and the latest and greatest technology. We also heard from the timings here. the time schedule of the HX program is fitting extremely well to where we are right now with Gripen and GlobalEye. So we have a number of years margin before deliveries will start to Finland. And we see that we are fully capable of delivering in time as requested for the HX program. Last but not least, we have as a company a very strong commitment here in Finland. And in a broader sense, given the political stance and aim in both of our countries for deepened defense cooperation, we see that that is a solid foundation for a long-term program a fighter aircraft acquisition is about. So this, ladies and gentlemen, this summarizes the logic we see. We hope that we have kind of made you see and follow some of this logic tonight, and by that we are concluding and summarizing our presentation, and we are happy to take your questions. Thank you for listening. So please don't be shy. Use all your energy and imagination for intelligent questions.
Semmoinen sarjakuvakysymys. Puhutaan vakoilusta ja näin voiko kyberhyökkäys häiritä lennolla Gripenin moottorinohjausjärjestelmää?
So a question a little bit from a comic book world. If cyber attack could disturb the functions of the engine on board Gripen.
Well, actually, the cyber protection area is an important area where we're working a lot today. And not only the aircraft as such, but also the support systems, mission planning and debriefing, they are secured for those types of risks and tampering, and it's really part of the design.
Kyberuhat on tietysti pidetty keskiössä jo suunnittelualusta lähtien, eli tähän ei uskota, että sillä tämmöiseen pystytään tekemään, että se on suojattu niiltä. Tämmöiseen pystytään tekemään, että se on suojattu niiltä uhkilta. Siellä oli kysymys, mä huomasin aikaisemmin, oli käsi ylhäällä keskellä. Onko vielä kysymys? Joo.
The engine of the new Gripen is GE 414, made in US, and you say that you can give the assembly of that to Finland. Is that really so?
It is really so.
Yeah.
However, we work closely together with General Electric on that matter.
Yeah.
So that is nothing that we just solely on our side can discuss and decide. So it takes many parties to the industrial participation program we are building up. We talk about more than 100 individual projects grouped in a number of different areas or IP or industrial participation programs. So we cooperate closely with General Electric on that topic, for instance, and with other partners on other areas.
Lyhyesti vaan niille, jotka ei ehkä englantia niin tehokkaasti ymmärrä, niin kysymys oli, että Magnus mainitsi esitelmässä, että myös moottoreiden kokoonpanoa tarjotaan Suomeen, ja kysymys oli, että onko tosiaan niin vastaus on kyllä, sitäkin tarjotaan, ja tietysti tämä ei ole asia, mitä Saab voi itsenäisesti tarjota. No, General Electricin moottorit, mutta tietysti General Electric on meidän kumppani, jonka kanssa tehdään läheistä yhteistyötä, ja sen perusteella, mitä ollaan yhdessä sovittu, niin näin tosiaan asia on, eli moottoreiden kokoonpano on niin ikään mukana tarjouksessa, eli Suomessa ne kokoonpanomaissa.
About the total operation cost, what is the portion of Global Air compared to Gripen, or it confidential information?
Yeah, we for competitive reasons we won't go into the details of that, and also as we have stated, we will not officially disclose how many Gripen aircraft exactly are part of this proposal, or how many GlobalEye are part. It would be, I mean, hard to judge that proportion if you do not know how many against how many. I think that's what I can say on that. But one thing is that it's really the cost efficiency of the Gripen making it possible for us to suggest to include GlobalEye aircraft in this program. And still we are within the frame, the budgetary frame of today's operational cost of 62 Hornet.
Can you provide us with the number of Gripens Brazil and Sweden are intending to procure?
Sweden has, we have a contract to deliver 60 aircraft to Sweden, Echo, and to Brazil it is 36 aircraft, out of which 8 are the twin-seat configuration Foxtrot.
So about 100?
About 100, that is correct, yes. And Sweden is at the same time operating and will continue to operate a large number of their Charlie Deltas.
And I can also complement...
What do you feel are the most potential countries, in addition to Finland, to purchase EF Gripen?
We have a long-term target to sell another 400-ish aircraft, and we have a lot of ongoing activities right now in Canada, in a big procurement there. We have things ongoing in Colombia as well. We're active since many years back in India, as well as in Asia. So
and not to mention Brazil, of course, as well.
Brazil has a long-term need clearly stated for 100+ aircraft. So what we've seen in Brazil is the first batch. We foresee that they would like to complement with additional orders. So some examples.
I can also bridge over to GlobalEye to respond to basically the same question, number of GlobalEyes, and currently we are in the production phase of delivering 3 GlobalEyes, UAE, and before even the first delivery, UAE has decided, based on the performance that we delivered during the program, that they have made a firm intent also to acquire 2 more. So a series of 5 GlobalEyes, that is what we're opting for, based on the dialogue we have. We'll see what happens, but yeah, it looks very good.
I think we had one here first.
Okay, yes, sorry.
Okej. Har ni fixerat paketet på det sättet att det måste innehålla Gripen och GlobalEye? Om köparen säger att Gripen, ja, det är vi intresserade av, men vi vill inte ha GlobalEye, så har ni någonting att offerera istället?
Det har vi. Shall I respond in English or Swedish?
Ja.
Is English okay?
Maybe, ja. Okay.
Yeah. Just everybody will be able to follow that in a good way. We are tasked to set up a package responding to the needs. At the same time that there are a number of questions and information that the customer is asking for, so we are giving information so the customer can understand a lot about what the different parts in our offer is costing. So we have that dialogue. And if we would have got indications that, no, we're not interested in the GlobalEye, we would have taken that out. It was part of the first RFI, the request for information response, a couple of years ago. It was part of the first formal offer we submitted 1 year ago. And we have got no such indications, rather in the opposite direction. So I think that it was kind of surprising some people, because you talk about the fighter acquisition like that, the HX program, but it is a functional procurement where the customer is kind of describing operational tasks and what scenarios are to be solved, and that then each candidate is suggested or requested to come up with a suggestion. So yes, if they would like to buy only Gripens, that is fully doable, and we are kind of massaging and fine-tuning and optimizing this package iteratively with the customer.
Se oli takana.
Okay, so for the Finnish Air Force 20 to 30 minutes to perform full turnaround. So can Gripen be turned really only in 10 minutes?
Yes. It depends a little bit what load. The 10-minute is an example of an air-to-air, so where the weapons are kind of normal standard weapons, like Meteor and Iris-T for the long range and the shorter range air-to-air use, as well as the refueling. It takes slightly longer if you have heavy ground attack weapons or cruise missiles, but it varies between 10 and up to perhaps even towards 20 minutes in some specific situations. But really what you do most is more the air-to-air side.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, for sure. What you do within the 10 minutes, that is a full rearming, a full refueling. It's just that if you have other types of arms, it may take some more minutes. So the 10 minutes, it's not all the different kind of possible types of turnarounds. It's fully true, and it has been designed for that.
Regarding the final assembly in Finland, possibly, would that include the Foxtrot version as well? Or would those be built in Brazil?
We have discussed, and I won't comment on the details, but what we're setting up is something that is I think smart and cost effective, and also it needs to build capability. And it may be so that if you look at the relation between the number of Echoes and Foxtrot, it may be better to concentrate on one, and then you can draw your conclusions. But still, there are a lot of things that are exactly the same for both Echo and Foxtrot. So the differences aren't that big. And especially when we talk about parts production, I mean, the majority of all parts are identical. So you cannot really draw a perfect line on that.
Otetaan siitä takaa ja sitten siitä edestä.
Elikkä voitko kääntää,
Joo.
kuinka paljon merkitsee, että onko siitä käyty keskustelua, kuinka hyvin tämä Global Eye-järjestelmä toimii maassa olevien taistelujohtokeskusten ja vastaavien nykyisten systeemien kanssa, vai joudutaanko niitä uusimaan nyt tässä vaiheessa myöskin?
So a question maybe rather to Fredrik about can you answer or elaborate, or have we discussed this as well with the customer? How well is Global Eye integratable with the sort of command centers on the ground, and how is the current infrastructure on the ground, or do we have to do some refurbishments in Finland, of course?
No, very good question, and it's a very important question as well. It is absolutely vital that an asset like Global Eye has the ability to communicate directly with the fighters and the C4I chain on ground. That is absolutely necessary. And based on the input that we have received from the Finnish Air Force, we have been able to sort of identify what specific adaptations we need to make in Global Eye in order to make this happen. And for us, we have been doing integration for the past 25 years, at least, since we've been with so long in the airborne early warning and control business. So for us, it's a pretty straightforward approach, actually, to make the integration, to make sure that the data, the tactical data and the strategic data can be directly relayed to ground and also to the Gripen fighters. So it's a very important issue, but it's not a big thing for us. Yeah.
Haluatteko suomennoksen vai?
Kiitos, ymmärsin.
Ja sieltä oli kysymys vielä.
The final decision will be made by politicians, our parliament, and there is a high pressure for getting work for the industry, Patria, especially because they are lack of work. So are you accepting if the politicians demand that 100% of the assembly will be done in Finland? So can you accept that?
Well, I think that there is no kind of under the circumstances or the right circumstances, we could accept certain things like that. We are not per se against it, but on the other hand, here we have a design to cost setup. We also have the delivery schedules that we need to meet, and in order to set up a production line, it takes some time, and that is why we see it natural as we will be doing part of the final assembly and part of the production in Sweden, because it takes a little time to ramp up the capability. So if we would assemble all aircraft in Finland, it would take slightly longer before we are up and running, and we haven't yet had any indications that it would be necessary to do it like that. So it's a little bit a hypothetical approach, but formally we may not be against it, but we need to optimize from so many perspectives.
There was this picture of the test aircraft 39-6 that has this cool looking camouflage. Why is the camouflage painting symmetric?
Well, it's a valid question. We've had a lot of questions around that. It's up to each operator how to design, and you can do it in many different ways. It's the 6002, the first serial aircraft to Sweden, I think you referred to. So dark grey and light grey.
I actually have an answer to that directly.
Yeah.
It actually it honors. It is painted by Saab, and it honors the camouflage pattern that the Swedish Defence Forces use. So it's actually, if you compare that pattern in a much smaller way with the uniforms that the Swedish Defence Forces use, that's actually, I think it's called M9. M90, yeah, M90 pattern. That's actually the. Yeah, you should follow our social media channels. That actually has been mentioned there.
And also, when talking about this, that is not the exact kind of painting the operational aircraft towards the end of the day will have in Sweden, but it's the way it has been painted as was described here by Jan at this stage.
You can select any color; it's not a problem.
Even red.
Even red. Oh, sorry. Blue.
Yeah, you may have seen actually the TX or T7 Red Hawk. We have a couple of red ones.
They will be repainted.
Yeah.
Okay, siitä keskeltä vielä.
Well, Saab is saying that Gripen has black belt if you compare it with Sukhoi. What does that actually mean?
I think, well, I know exactly what you're referring to. Our previous air chief in Sweden, he was quite how shall I say, direct on how he felt the capabilities of Gripen Echo Foxtrot version in terms of handling potential threats in this area. And I think what was stated there actually is that it is designed from the very beginning for the type of aircraft that is operating in this region, aircraft that are violating our borders and or aircraft types for the future that such countries are aiming at. So this is really the background for the design of Gripen Echo Foxtrot, to be able to handle not only the systems we see today in operational use, but also what is planned to be coming in the foreseeable future. More questions?
I guess everyone is happy now.
Perfect. So thank you very much for excellent questions, and I hope you had an informative and nice evening here. At least we had. So thank you very much for coming.